I wrote this poem when I had a sudden burst of inspiration when I was chatting with a friend about this book, Chronology of Water by Lydia. I don't know how to say her last name, but there's a boob on the cover. Uh, and I'll link it or something. But recorded a voice memo that led to in response to my friend, that led to the writing of the poem. And so I will include the voice memo poem discussion. Okay, so yeah, here is the voice memo that led me to the poem. Okay, so I feel like the way she writes is like almost primal. And I'm thinking about it now, how, because I'm in Bali now by myself, and like how a lot of women don't travel alone. Like you think of Jack Kerouac or like everybody else, all those men that went and did crazy things. And there's just such a rhetoric that women can't do that because it's not safe because of men a lot of the time. But the way she writes, the way she talks, the way she's lived her life, and the way she tells about it so beautifully still, and describes the way it still impacts her. Like, it's just so honest, like you said. She shows that she shows that it's safe to do that and to be that and to feel that way. And she shows that you're not crazy if you, I don't know, I feel like also I always feel like I'm crazy and that everybody thinks I'm crazy. So hearing someone else talk so viscerally about their experience, because that's how I feel mine most of the time. And what you were saying about how she wrote about the pain giving her a release, I hadn't thought about it that way or like in those words before. And it now reminds me of like some of my poems about when I feel like, because now when I want to self-harm, I just write a poem instead of, which feels a bit healthier, but it isn't. I guess as related to what she's talking about, but the way she writes about the pain giving her a release, it reminds me of the poems that I wrote, and I feel like it's like when you feel so much, you need a way to let it out, like to bring it into reality, because so much also of like the woman's experience, I feel like just because it's more no, I guess just people who are more or are very in contact with yin energy, like the feminine, and so much of our experience is internal and like ethereal or dream like. It's just intuitive. It almost that it doesn't manifest in, or it often doesn't manifest in physical reality, like can feel restrictive. And so bringing it into physical reality makes it feel like it's more real. It makes it feel like it actually happened. It wasn't just all in your head, That makes sense. It's a pretty butterfly. But it's interesting also the aspect of care afterwards. That sounds so healing, especially with another person, because like, the best healing we can do is with someone else. Like the only true way to do that, to heal, is in community. And so like just also like being that vulnerable with someone. Like I think about a few years ago when I was still so uncomfortable with myself, and like the first time, or like when I hooked up with my roommate on the boat, who was a girl, I could like hardly look at her the next day because I just felt so weird, like vulnerable that someone saw me that way. We're friends now, and I've explained this to her. But it's just like, that sounds like it would make you feel so small, but so held. Like, I just imagine like the way a raindrop the way a raindrop feels when it goes into the ocean. Oh my god. Wow, that was just exhilarating to say. That felt really good. Yeah. Wow. This one is called Fluid. Can you imagine the way a raindrop feels plummeting through the air, barely holding itself together, soaring through mystery when it falls into the ocean, dissolving into everything it is, merging with all that is known and unknown, finally finding family in the blood of the covenant. Every wall held together for so long, melting away with the granting of every wish I was too scared to whisper. Every atom embracing the ether, coursing through my veins. All the love and darkness, balancing the scales, blinding the fear, bounding with courage, honest in transformation. Can you imagine the way a raindrop feels when it falls into the ocean? That's my best guess. I feel like so much of life can be, or like so many lessons in life can be seen through observing water and the way it moves and how it ages and how it doesn't. And the way, I mean, when you're really in with yourself, when you're really following your path, when you're really making decisions that you know are good for you, everything feels fluid like water. Everything flows like water. It's like your edges, you don't know where they are anymore because it doesn't matter so much where they are because you know you're with it all. Because you know, yeah, you're with it all. And I feel like when you find that energy of fluidity and are able to embrace it fully is when it's like, I love me for being me and I love you for being you, and it's like everybody's doing their part and playing their role and finding so much joy in it, and you can't, I don't know, I'm really enjoying being this self that I am right now because I'm also enjoying like everyone else around me and playing a part and care in people's stories and just embracing the fact that it's all temporary and it'll all change and nothing is ever happened before in the same way that it's happened a million times. And I feel like when you, like what I was talking about what was said in the poem of finally finding family in the blood of the covenant, just like finally feeling belonging in where you are because it comes from your own skin, because it's coming from inside you, because you wouldn't want to be anyone else, because you're so enjoying this life, as I said, in the same way that you're enjoying that everybody is everybody else, and you wouldn't want any of that to change because you're part of it. Also, thinking about the poem and thinking about how I imagine, or like I guess where it came from, was imagining the way, yeah, that's the question that is in it already, but thinking about just like returning to oneness and remembering that you're part of it all, which is what I feel like that poem is saying, like in one sentence, I guess. Sometimes I use more words than I need. But that experience, I imagine it all through, like, it's how I imagine, or would I imagine how osmosis feels like if it was going through your epidermis. So it's very touch-based. It's very bodily based. It feels very sensory. It feels very physical. It feels very visceral. And then thinking about how water is sentient. Water has memory, and it remembers through touch. And that makes me think about then so much of our lessons, and so much of the lessons I feel like are going to be coming up soon. Astrologers have said this, but I also just like feel it coming, because like I know my Saturn return is coming 2026, so in like 2 years, or like a year and a half at this point. Whoa. But what's it called? And I know it's in the house that has to do with like, I don't remember which one it is, but like bodily routines, or like bodily health and routines and daily work stuff. And I know those are all things I want to start focusing on, like more disciplined wise. And so I feel like in general, like I've just been thinking more and more about listening to my body and the way that it feels, and letting that guiding me. Especially because I feel like the way I think, the way I operate is so like in the ether. Sometimes it feels hard for me to connect with my body, but if we listen to water, if we find the lessons and the metaphors of the way that water exists and moves throughout the world, then it is very touch, it is very bodily, it is very physical reality. And thinking about how in so much like therapy stuff that I researched, they talk about going back into your body, because a lot of the times, like growing up, you learn how to listen to society stronger than, or like societal cues, I guess, stronger than you listen to your body. And we're made of like, I need to look up this statistic, but however much water, and it's a lot of water, like we're made of a lot of water, and that body is your body is what experiences touch, you know, like we can remember and learn so many lessons through looking at water, because that's so much, or at least partially obviously, but because that's so much of what we're made of. Like water is really where like so much life comes from. We'd all die without it. Who wouldn't? And also going back to oh, it's 11:11. And also going back to the body and learning lessons through the body, when we start paying more attention to societal cues, we live more in the mind, where the truth of it, or like what everybody says, it seems, is that the body holds more wisdom. Our body innately knows more of what we want and don't want, and what makes us feel good and what makes us feel scared or dangerous. Like fear is very in the body. Like the body holds more wisdom than we want to pay attention to it. I mean, just think about also how many things we do to disconnect from our bodies. Like I remember a lot of jobs I've had, I could not listen at all when my body was crying out for rest, or mostly rest. But yeah, there's so many ways. And substances, although I'm not against them, obviously. But yeah, so many ways. I remember a few years ago when I had a big realization about water. I was walking a pilgrimage through Italy, the Via degli Dei, and it was my first pilgrimage, and I think this was on my birthday. It was 5 days long, and it was like up and down the Italian Alps. And I had 50 pounds, 23 kilos on my back. I was just in so over my head, but I did it. And I finished on my birthday, on the day I turned 27. And I remember walking around that day and crying, like tears of joy, and just repeating 27, 27, 27 in my head, because I was like, how is this happening? And I was walking into Florence, and you kept getting peaks of Florence throughout the day. Like, you could see it because it's in a valley. And what's it called? I remember I had the realization, water takes the path of least resistance, even if that means a free fall. And I feel like I have thought of that phrase throughout times in my life when something makes sense for me to do, for me to want, but I have no idea how it's going to happen. And when faced with that like daunting question of how something will happen, I remind myself of this expression because it reminds me, I mean, how do you not trust water? I know the ocean is dangerous sometimes and stuff, but trust water as like a metaphor, as a teacher, everything like that. Like, she is so old, like she has so much wisdom. She has figured out how to move, and I feel like energy especially moves like water. And so when faced with what you want but you have no idea how, and then the logical fear comes up, when I feel that, I'm like, okay, water takes the path of least resistance. Even if it seems like you're gonna have a free fall and it's gonna be crazy, and sometimes you do, you still come back together at the bottom. You still come back to oneness. You still come back to what you've always needed to be. Yeah, I've found that truth through times in my life when I've been scared and I don't know what I want to do next. The truth is unavoidable. The path, and it's not like when it's resistance from in you, when water follows the path of least resistance, like resistance from inside of you. Whenever you're telling a lie, you feel tense. Something inside of you tenses up. Maybe that doesn't happen for everybody. That happens with me. And when I'm feeling something that I know is more complex than it needs to be, or I'm resisting a feeling or resisting the truth of something, I can feel that tension. And as I get closer to the truth, there's a release that happens inside of me. Someone said, I don't know if I've already said this, it doesn't matter. Someone said, enlightenment tastes of freedom. I think that was Martha Beck. And it's true. The thing that makes you feel the most free, the thing that makes you feel the most relaxed in yourself, not in what other people think, and it takes a minute to get through what other people think, and that's the easier, what you think other people think, actually, that's what it is, but it's the easier choice because it comes up faster. But when it comes back to you, the truth feels unavoidable. Like, I don't know, I think about water takes the path of least resistance and the truth sets you free. When you have a tension, a feeling, a part of self that feels like you're not being your complete, honest, and truthful self, you can't get into a flow state because you're holding this resistance, you're holding this self back, everything like that. And water takes the path of least resistance if you're going to get into a flow state. Touch with our energy and touch with ourself flow state feels great. What's it called? You have to set yourself free. We have to confront the feelings that we have that keep tension in us until we get to a state of release so that energy can flow through those parts. Yeah, water takes the path of least resistance and the truth sets you free. Find the things that make you tense about yourself and what is a more truthier truth. Not tense in a painful way, in like a way that you imagine you've built a vice around yourself. Like you can't be. You're not allowed to be. You have to fit. The more you fit, the less, comfortability you'll have. And comfortability is really more powerful than confidence. Comfortability is clarity. And again, a water metaphor, clear water. Okay, yeah. Let's reflect on water and figure out which truths we need to confront to set ourselves free. Thank you for listening. I just realized in the making of this episode that I needed to close out the episodes. We're learning. Thank you for listening. Please follow if you're enjoying the show, because then you'll know when you get new episodes. This is so fun. I am really enjoying having this as a task, as a project, and I hope anyone is enjoying listening. Have a great life. Have a great time. I hope you are enjoying yourself.